What's up? What's up? Welcome to another great week. Listen, we're keeping up No Excuse November. This month, we're throwing out all the excuses and we're living into the fullness of our created purpose. No more excuses, right? And to get there, we're recognizing that we're not going to add things to our lives that are going to help us get it, but instead it's going to be the things that we give away that help us live into the fullness of our creative purpose. This week, we're talking about how we can give away our time. And to make a point, I'm filming right here in the body shop. Listen, man, I love being in the body shop. I love to spend my time here. But watch this. When I spend 2 hours here, I can't spend that 2 hours anywhere else, because you see, my time is it's a limited resource that when I spend it here, I can spend it nowhere else. You see, so often we think that our time is something that is unlimited. But the reality is, man, it is not. We always think, man, I can do this tomorrow. I can take care of it later, man, next week, next month, next year, when I get to college, when I get married, I'll take care of something then. But the reality is, man, is ERs and hospitals and morgues and funerals are full of people who thought they had time to do something tomorrow. But yet they didn't. For you see, even though we don't know when we'll breathe our last breath, we know for certainty that at some point, on some day, we will breathe our last breath. And our time, therefore, is limited in. And so listen, I want to encourage you guys today with a passage from Ephesians chapter 5, where Paul was writing to a group of Christians who understood that Jesus was coming back, who understood that at some moment, at any moment, Jesus could come back, and man, it was happening. It was coming. And so because of that, he writes to them, and he paints a picture of how Christians, people who don't know Jesus, live their lives, and those Christians, those who do know Jesus, who do follow after God, how they are to live their lives. And Paul then in verse 15 says, "Therefore be careful how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of your time." Why? Because the days are evil. You see, he writes to them to say, look, you can't go around living like it doesn't matter what you do. You can't go around living like you can just take care of it. You can make up for it tomorrow, because we have a limited amount of time. And so we have to be wise to these guys, how they live their lives and make the most of their time. You see, for us, a lot of times, Jesus coming back is an afterthought. It's something that sits in the back of our mind. It's an intellectual thought, not something we live in experientially. And then it's also something that we think will happen after we accomplish this, that, or the other. After we graduate from college and get married and have 2.5 kids and a golden doodle and build a business and retire and travel the country and sail on a yacht. After we do all these things, then Jesus will come back. But that's not the case. And so my challenge for us this week, recognizing that we have a limited amount of time, and like Paul told the church in Ephesians, I'm telling you, we have got to make the most of our time. We've got to be wise and not unwise in making the most of our time. This is what I want us to do this week. For the next 7 days, I want you to track how you spend your time. You can do it hourly, every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes. I want you to track for 7 days, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, how you spend your time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chart, and I'm going to put out little codes. And so I go to school at Fuller Theological Seminary. And so I'm going to write FTS anytime I'm studying or I'm at school, when I'm working out, WKO or whatever. And so just make the code sheet that works for you, that makes sense for you, and track everything you do over the next 7 days. And at the end of 7 days, I want you to add up the total of how you spent your time. And what I think you'll find is that you will be astonished at how much time you spend doing stuff that you would never say that you value. You find that you spend your time doing stuff that you don't want to be doing, or you don't even realize that you are doing. Now, I want to do this not to guilt you or to shame you into spending more time with Jesus or more time in the scriptures, but instead so that you can see how you spend your time, and then you can begin to make the most of it. There's not going to be no perfect ratio, right? Your chart will look different than mine, but this point will hold true. If you find out that at the end of this week you've spent 10 hours playing Xbox or watching Yo Gabba Gabba, and you spent like 3 minutes reading scripture, that's out of whack. Right? And so we're going to find that where we spend our time is what we value. And so I want to challenge you to value things that make the most of the time that you're never going to get back. Ask the question, if I spend the next hour doing this, is it worth it? Because I'm never getting this hour back. Our memory verse this week is Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 and 16. Memorize it, own it, and let it propel you to go change the world. I love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.